To be clear, I don't know Russell Brand's politics. I do know the politics of the audience he panders to. There's a difference.
Million of you on YouTube are our growing army on Rumble. Almost 1.5 million people there immersing themselves in free speech, wallowing in it, bathing in...
Notice how he starts his videos. Every video talking about how many subscribers he has. Why do you think he does that? Why is that so important to begin every video with? Is that because that's what he's focused on? Subscribers, views, money, and not on anything else? And then, of course, the virtue signaling, free speech, free speech, free speech. You know, I love these buzzwords you just throw around to pander to a certain audience. And it works.
Free speech like Aphrodite, born anew, baptized as deities. Yes, freedom is coming. The first 15 minutes...
Freedom is coming. I mean, could you be more obvious? I mean, all this guy needs is a Black Lives Matter flag behind him, a, fist, clenched fist t-shirt, to clench his actual fist, and, say stuff like, no justice, no peace, Medicare for all, equality for all, save the environment. Oh, I'm sorry, he's not pandering to that audience. He's pandering to a different audience. My bad.
This will be there on YouTube. Then, due to the nature of our conversation about some of the FBI's conduct, we are gonna have to only broadcast on Rumble. We can't be on YouTube and talk about some of the FBI's potentially allegedly criminal activity and how it relates to events. Remember at the beginning of January, there was a little bit of a, I don't know what to do.
I think it's a coincidence that Russell Brand seems to always take things in the same direction that right-wing media takes things, yet he's supposedly not a right-winger, right? The right-wing angle on January 6th is it's FBI, it's Antifa, it's a setup, blah, 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 right? Them trying to go after him is trying to stop him because they think he's a threat as far as the election. Russell Brand just so happens to think the same way, apparently, right? He wants to talk about the Newberg 4 or something like that. Of course, in the context of the FBI is bad and they're the ones who set up the January 6th thing, right? That's where he needs to spread this rhetoric, right? If Trump is being indicted for something, and the right-wing media is going out there and deflecting and saying, well, what about what Hunter Biden did, or this is just political. What angle does Russell Brand take? You guess that one.
Refer to it as, was it a carnival, was it a riot, was it an insurrection? It's difficult to describe it, but one thing's for certain, the FBI had a lot of operatives there and some of their past conduct might lead you to scrutinize that agency.
And this is brilliant propaganda. He's pointing out a real thing, a true thing, and that's how he suckers you in. If I didn't know Russell Brand, I didn't know what he was about, this could appeal to me. Like, yeah, I know what the FBI has done, and here's this guy exposing them again, right? You take a little bit of truth and you add a couple of other flavors, and then you have this alternate reality concoction that you can use to make a lot of money from your audience, who happens to have a certain ideology for some reason, which doesn't match supposedly yours.
And their actions. First, though, let's have a look at what's going on with your man, Donald Trump.
Your man. Who's the your he's referring to? Whose man is Donald Trump that he's talking to in his video? Who does he think that's watching his video that statement applies to?
Rally since the indictment, he's vocal, he's excited, he's perspiring a little bit, he's pretty amusing, he's got the stand-up skills. Let's have a look at it.
Trump is a funny guy. He's a funny guy, and he's your guy, and let's see what he's talking about.
Tonight, former President Trump holding his first campaign rally since his latest indictment on election interference. today blasting how much he's tied up in legal battles.
I'm sorry, I won't be able to go to Iowa today. I won't be able to go to New Hampshire today because I'm sitting in a courtroom on
Trump rallying his supporters in early
That's so funny.
voting state New.
Even the beep is an indication of how politics has changed. Later this week, we've got Vivek Ramaswamy coming on our show. If you're a local subscriber, and you only have to press the red button to do that, you will have already seen the conversation with Vivek, and many of you posed brilliant and challenging questions on whether or not he'd pardon Trump, on whether or not he feels compromised with his own relationships with Big Pharma, and his answers were exciting and informative. That's why it's worth joining us on Locals. And what I would say to my on-screen assistant, Gareth Roy, and to all of you watching is, when you see Trump in his pomp, you realise now that the era of the bureaucrat, mandarin, static, rhetorical, flat politician has perhaps come to an end. Would you say that's what we're experiencing?
It's full-on populism, isn't it? And what he said to the crowd was, I'm being indicted for you.
Yeah, Trump is so refreshing, man. He's not like those stuffy politicians, you know. He's introducing a new era of populism. You know what I mean? He's all about what the people want. You know, he's not an elite billionaire establishment guy who was a Democrat and changed to be a Republican just to commit some kind of a fraud on American people, pretending to be religious, pretending to be conservative. Nah, none of that's true. He's populist and he's a funny guy. Yeah, man.
We've got a clip coming up in a bit where someone said, you know, they kind of, the things that they would be willing to do for Donald Trump are things that people don't normally say about politicians. You know,
it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary phenomenon. And I think the left...
Things that people don't normally say about politicians. If I were a cult of personality, I can guarantee you people would be saying a lot of things about me that they don't normally say about politicians. In fact, that's always the case with cults of personality. So could that be the reason why people are saying stuff that they don't normally say about politicians? Because he's a cult of personality, and, you know, when you have a cult, you know, you have people that do things like they're willing to die for a guy, which is literally the case. You have people that are willing to die for Donald Trump, like he's some kind of savior, some kind of deity, right? That's not normal. That's not something that is a positive thing to say about him, that you have people that are so devoted to this human being that they would die for him, right? But let these guys tell it, oh, this is refreshing. This is refreshing that we have people that are obsessed with this guy, whether they hate him or they love him, but especially the ones who love him, that they would, you know, oh, I'll die for Trump, right? Trump killed someone, that might not be bad, right? This is what they're actually talking about. They're not going to illustrate it in detail, but at the root of it, at the core of what they're talking about, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about people saying crazy things like, if Trump were to murder someone, I'm not sure that would be an issue. They're MAGA people, not just Trump voters, MAGA people who speak like this. This is what they're referring to, but they would never clarify that. They stay very neutral and avoiding certain things, you know, just basically communicating feelings. This guy is populist and he's funny, and, you know, he's, you know, the way people like him is like nothing we've seen before, to imply that that's a good thing, when in reality they're talking about some really, really sick things.
Bringing about and precipitating their huge decline.
Lashing out at special counsel Jack Smith's request for a protective order.
Are things that people don't normally say about politicians. You know,
it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary phenomenon. And I think the left's inability to address this and reckon with it is bringing about and precipitating their huge decline.
Oh, the left. This is bringing about and precipitating the decline of the left, which he's not part of, right? That's that other evil group, right? Duopoly. But let's just focus on Unopoly, right? We can just focus on one party. The left has gone too far, and the Democrats. But Trump, oh, he's funny, and he's a populist guy.
Smith's request for a protective order, which would bar him from discussing some elements of the case.
I will talk about it. I will. They're not taking away my First Amendment right.
The former president growing even more defiant.
Every time you get indicted, I like to check the polls because... One more...
Take a look at who's watching his content. Utah for Trump. Interesting, nobody's above the law. Trump with an alien thing. This guy says Trump. Anyone right of Cornel West is centrist at best. That doesn't make any sense at all. I gotta think about this for a second about how that could be true. Anyone right of Cornel West. In order for that to be true, there would have to be no right wing. Because he's saying anyone to the right of Cornel West would have to be a centrist, right? So that means you can go as far to the right as you want, and you're still a centrist, because he says anyone to the right. So that means even the furthest to the right that there is from Cornel West, according to this guy, is still a centrist. So that would indicate that there is left and center, and I guess maybe, I was going to say center right, but he says centrist at best. So that means there's not even a center right. So it's literally, he's saying that everything is left wing. I don't think this is a very thinking person, which is probably why he loves Russell Brand, I assume. This guy says MAGA. This person says invest in children. This one says aliens vote for Trump. Trump is the GOAT. I love Trump. Trump 2024. You know Trump is low-key crapping his pants. Trump RFK 2024. This one says Pitchforks is coming, says Cornel West 2024. Green Wave 2024. Dead Duopoly 2024. Never Trumpers blinded by hatred. Now this is in the first 2 minutes before the live stream started, so these are going to be some of the most loyal people. First ones to join the stream. Look at what Nee says. Russell, as much as I like you, I hate to read your clickbait titles just to wait for the big reveal. Please get a dead man switch and expose the pedophiles already. He wants him to do a video about Steven Crowder or Matt Gaetz' good friend. And no, I'm not accusing Steven Crowder of being a pedophile. I have no evidence to support that. I'm being facetious in case it wasn't obvious. He is a sexual deviant. How deep the deviancy goes, I do not know. Such and such smeared Steven Crowder. I am independent and lean right because of Trump. Trump 2024. Trump is performing comedy art. Trump committed no crime. I don't see anyone promoting any left-wing people in here. I think maybe there was Cornel West and Green Party people. That was very rare. I wonder why that is. Trump DeSantis 2024. Why is it that a bunch of right-wingers would be watching Russell Brand? Is he right-wing? And the left has a lot of diversity, right? You got socialists, communists, you got liberals, progressives. I don't see a lot of them represented in the audience. What's really happening here?
Of Sloppy Chris Christie. another day, another nickname. You can't say that you're being respectful of someone that you call Sloppy Chris Christie today in New Hampshire during a speech in front of a large crowd of
It's so funny. It's so funny when Trump calls somebody a nickname, you know. It was funny in 2016, it's funny in 2017, it's funny in 2018, it's funny in 2019, it's funny in 2020, it's funny in 2021, funny in 2022, and in 2023 it's so funny. Every time Trump, you know, gives somebody a cute nickname, you know. Sloppy Chris Christie. He's so funny. He's a comedian. His timing is perfect. I mean, it's such an original joke, you know. It's you know what's so good about him? He could tell the same joke for, you know, so many years and he wouldn't lose a follower. I mean,
that Chris Christie is a fat pig. Rather than acknowledging that, which many speakers would have done, I said, no, he is not a fat pig. I'm sure Chris would have been very happy with my defence of him, he exclaims, in another format that Donald Trump can triumph within. Let's go back to that news story before we move on to Burisma. And I'll tell you, Vivek Ramaswamy, Gareth, you weren't there for the conversation, were you? Because you were preparing for this show. Sure. I'm assuming you were busy. You weren't just mucking around. You weren't tending to your own hair. Well, Vivek Ramaswamy, and I'm going to have to be careful how I phrase this on YouTube, he says that the relationship between the Bidens and Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company, isn't being looked at significantly enough or with sufficient depth or scrutiny in regard specifically with the ongoing funding of the Ukraine war. I mean, that's, I think, in its...
And of course, Russell Brand doesn't have any problem with this. Any negative theories, opinions about the Democrats or Biden, the people that his audience doesn't like, no curiosity, right? He'll just amplify it. You know, if it's crazy enough, he'll be kind of neutral about it. He'll repeat it, but then not really agree or disagree, right? But if someone says something about Biden, you can bet good money that he's not going to push back against it. He's not going to theorize like maybe they're wrong or maybe it's a distraction or maybe people are just saying this about Biden because they're trying to they're afraid of him and they're trying to shut him down. They're afraid of the Democrats. Democrats are doing things they don't like. He would never suggest that, right? Critiques of Biden, interesting. Or yeah, this looks like something bad. Critiques about Trump, I wonder why they want us to focus on this thing. Could it be a distraction, or could it be, or what did Trump do? Is it really that bad? And by the way, isn't he a funny guy? This is the Baby Channel. The Baby comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. Money, 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 money.